Hello and good evening to all parents of the Year 7s of 2022. My name is Josh McCraith. I'm the Marcellin College captain for this year. I just want to say welcome to our Marcellin family, and we hope your sons we're so happy to have them all on board, and we hope they really enjoy their time at Marcellin. So the agenda for tonight, you'll have Miss Farley and Miss Fordham talking about learning at Marcellin. You'll have Mr. Maloney and Mr. Edwards talking about the transition to Marcellin. You'll have Mr. Cooper talking about outdoor education, Mr. Gentile and Mr. Kamei talking about wellbeing at the college, and Mr. Cesare, our principal, giving his principal welcome. So of course, like we start off every college event, we wish to pay respects to the traditional custodians of the land on which this school stands, the Wurundjeri Wurrung clan of the Woiwurrung people in the Kulin Nation, and we wish to pay respect to the elders both past, present and emerging. So we'll begin in prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. We'll start off with our college prayer. Teach me, O Lord, to aim high and not to be content with mediocrity, to set my sights on noble goals, to have a brave heart, a clear vision, to prize the things that are worthwhile, to always have courage, to choose the right, to despise what is petty, to shun all selfishness, to have a heart that is strong and brave, pure and happy, docile yet courageous, so that under your guidance and with your grace I may at all times and in all things have as my motto, Virtute ad altissima. St. Marcellin Champagne, pray for us. Mary, our good mother, pray for us. And let us always remember to pray for one another. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you for your time this evening. I'd like to now pass you on to Miss Farley and Miss Fordham, talking about learning at Marcellin. I'd also like to say I hope your son has a wonderful time at Marcellin College, just like I have. It's a great school, full of really good people. We've got a really good sense of community, and I hope your son receives the very best of that, which I know he will at our school.
Thank you, Josh. Good evening. My name is Suzanne Farley, and I'm the Deputy Principal Learning and Teaching. Like some of you, I'm new to the Marcellin College community, and I'm delighted to have this opportunity to speak to you for the first time about our learning and teaching vision. 2022, I'm hopeful, will be a year of renewal and a year for students to reconnect with the school community. And at Marcellin College, we've been reviewing and reimagining our learning and teaching framework so that we can provide students with greater opportunities to strive for their highest. The work of our staff over 2020 and 2021 has set the foundation for a newly developed learning and teaching framework at the college, one that is based on a personalised learning philosophy. Personalised learning is a student-centred approach to education where classroom practices begin from the understanding that students all learn differently and are very often at different points in their learning journey. To adequately support each student, therefore, the element of personalisation at Marcellin College is vital. This means that our students are known. Alongside the relationships pastoral teachers build with students, where their goals are known, teachers use data to understand the learning journey of each student. This means we can develop the varied learning opportunities needed inside and outside the classroom, from offering support programs, homework club, and varied senior pathway options, to recognising gifted and talented students. We're currently exploring a new gifted and talented program, which is extremely exciting. While a personalised learning philosophy recognises student differences, it is still important that we provide a curriculum that challenges, develops students who are informed and capable members of their broader community, gives them access to higher learning opportunities, and empowers them through helping them to develop good learning behaviours and routines. As we continue our review, we will be considering our current learning programs at Year 7 through to Year 10, and we will be updating some of our policies, one of which is our home study policy, copies of which will be forwarded shortly. Home study includes activities to support students developing important knowledge and skills, but also includes a chance for students to review and assess their own progress, supporting development of important learning behaviours and routines that will contribute to their success into future years. I'm now going to hand over to Laura Fordham, who's going to take you through some specific aspects of the Learning and Teaching program for Year 7 students at Marcellin College and into some of the details of our new home study policy. I wish you all and your children a good start to 2022 and look forward to being able to speak to you further about the college's Learning and Teaching framework.
Good evening everyone, my name's Laura Fordham and I'm the Director of Learning Culture Year 7 and 8. So I'll be overseeing your son's learning program for 2022 and tonight I'd like to share a little bit with you about what to expect for the year in terms of your son's subjects, assessment and reporting and our home study policy. So firstly, each Year 7 student will be completing the following subjects for the entire year. So religious education, English, mathematics, humanities, science, health and physical education, and a language. Well, there are a small group of students who will be completing the Learning Assistance Program. In terms of the language, students will complete one language in semester 1 and then change to complete a different language in semester 2. That way students have the option of selecting whichever one that they felt was best suited to their learning. Semester-based subjects, so students will either complete this semester a semester of art or music and will alternate and obviously change over in semester 2. And then finally we have digital technologies or STEM. So our STEM subject is a new subject for 2022 and we're really looking forward to seeing our students learning in that program. At Marcellin College, our students from Year 7 to 10 complete their learning for each subject based on our learning and feedback cycle. On the next slide, I will share with you a little bit more around what the feedback and the results look like for you as a parent on MyMC, but I'll just quickly run through what the learning cycle includes. So at the beginning of a unit, teachers will present to students the content of the unit. So they will present the skills and knowledge that are intended to be part of the learning for that unit. That's given to students in the form of a rubric, and staff take the time to ensure that they understand where each student is coming from at the beginning of that unit by some sort of task in looking at prior learning. That's also supported by data that we already have for our students. So for students for Year 8 through to Year 10, we obviously have a number of assessment pieces that students have already completed. For our Year 7s, they've just recently completed their PAT testing for literacy and numeracy, so that helps to guide our teachers in terms of modifying their teaching practice. Throughout the unit, teachers will continue to refer back to the rubric, and the first assessment piece that students will complete will be a progression task. That progression task is an opportunity for teachers to give students feedback on their learning so that students can adapt what they're doing and make improvements along the learning cycle, so that by the time they finish their unit, when they're completing their achievement task, they are producing work of the highest possible standard. So throughout the learning cycle, feedback is obviously given to students both formally and informally. On the next slide, I'm just going to explain what that means for you as a parent, what you can access on MyMC. So from the learning cycle, we will be reporting all results to parents via continuous reporting. So firstly, the first assessment, as I said, is what we call a progression task. So that progression task is an opportunity for teachers to provide students and parents with a rubric showing the students where they are placed in terms of their current skill set, and they also provide written feedback on MyMC. That written feedback is in the format of answering the 3 questions that I've got listed there. So what went well, even better if, and where to next. And those 3 statements really provide students and parents an opportunity to understand where the student currently is, the skills that they're able to currently show, how they could improve their work. So what could they have done to make that task of a higher standard? And then finally, some tips and suggestions around where they need to improve and what they need to do to, move themselves from into the next stage of learning on that rubric. At the end of the unit, you'll also receive results for an achievement task, and that is given via, again, the rubric, and a percentage result is given on MyMC. So the end of semester reports, therefore, look a little bit different in comparison to what they did years ago, because that feedback and assessment is given throughout each semester and is given continuously. Our semester reports then just report on students' work habits, and we also provide progression points for our Victorian curriculum statements for each curriculum strand for each subject area. I'd just like to share a little bit with you about rubrics to provide you as parents the opportunity to have conversations with your sons about their learning and for you to fully understand what a rubric means and how it's made up. So our rubrics begin by making a statement around a particular skill that students need to complete. So I've just chosen a Year 7 Maths example here, looking at number and algebra. So in the first column, we have a list of skills that we intend for students to learn throughout this particular unit. So firstly, apply order of operations. So you'll see next to that there is in the third column there, the statement insufficient evidence. Insufficient evidence clearly means that the student was unable to show that skill in any way throughout that assessment. There are then another 4 statements that progress in terms of difficulty. So for a student who is fully on top of being able to apply an order of operations, they might be able to solve worded problems involving order of operations, in comparison to, at the other end, students who are able to just simply identify which operation should be completed first. So this is just a maths example there. All subject areas will be using rubrics to show a level of skill that students have attained in a particular assessment. Rubrics are really helpful for a number of reasons, and it's obviously shared with our students at the beginning of the unit for them to know where we're going. So what is the content of the unit? What are the things that they're going to be learning throughout that particular unit? It allows students to evaluate their own work. So students are able to look at the rubric and place themselves and decide where they believe their learning is. It helps teachers to apply a consistent standard when assessing so that all students are compared across the same assessment rubric. And finally, it clearly outlines a student's skill level, where they're at and what they need to do to increase or to move on to the next stage or the next level of their learning.
The last couple of things I'd like to talk about are 2 different policies. So I want to look at the work submission policy and then our home learning policy. Both of these policies are something parents will be able to access in full detail, but these 2 slides will give you a snapshot of the policy and what they're about. I'll also talk a little bit about our learning support sessions. So firstly, I just want to look at the bottom half of this flow chart. So when teachers set a learning task, so they set a due date for students, it's the student's responsibility to be taking note of that date. However, the dates are set in MyMC for them to access electronically. If a student submits their work by the due date, teachers obviously provide the appropriate assessment feedback. So if it's a progression task, written feedback; if it's an achievement task, and then it's a percentage result and a rubric on MyMC. Following from that, if a student achieves a result that is below 50%, teachers will then communicate directly with parents so that they're aware. On the top half of the flowchart, this is around the process for when students don't submit tasks on time. So firstly, if a student doesn't submit a learning task, so something that might just be a homework task, so something that's not an assessment piece, teachers will obviously have a conversation with students around why that task isn't submitted by the due date. And then students will be given what's called a learning support session at lunchtime. So essentially this is roughly 20 to 25 minutes at lunchtime for students to complete that task to ensure that it is actually done as soon as possible. Ideally, we don't want to be seeing students having those learning support sessions. We want students to be ensuring that they're taking note of due dates and learning tasks or assessment pieces are due in by that specific date. So if a progression task hasn't been submitted by a student by the required date, then the teacher will record a comment, so they'll still provide that written feedback and then set a revised due date. If a student doesn't submit an achievement task on time, then the teacher will record the result as a not assessed, so an NA, and then students will still be given a revised due date, and teachers will still be giving feedback via the rubric. Our home study policy is something that we've just been editing and finalising just recently. And as I said, parents will have a copy of this and will be able to read it in detail. But essentially our home study policy is designed to encourage our students to really take responsibility for their learning and provide opportunities for our students to reflect on the learning that they've done in the classroom. To obviously foster positive lifelong learning and study habits, and to also develop self-regulation processes like goal setting, self-efficacy, self-reflection, and time management. So home study essentially consists of two key areas. There's homework, which is specific tasks that are set by teachers. So tasks and different assessment items that have a particular due date. Study is something that is a revision of concepts and is something that is designed for students to prepare for formal assessments in the classroom. And it helps our students to really support what they have set as their learning goals. So obviously for a student to achieve a positive result in a particular subject, it's not just about completing the set work. Study is a really important component of a student's home study routines. So you'll see that there's a photo there of our student planner for this year. Within the student planner, you'll see that on one side of a standard page is a section for students to create a to-do list of tasks and has like a diary, so that the individual dates and days of the year. On the other side, there is a section there for students to complete a home study schedule. So there's a number of hours set from around 3:30 in the afternoon, obviously after school when students finish school, through to about 9:30 at night. And it's set up for students to be able to firstly set out the times that they know that they have other commitments. So they might have co-curricular, they might have sport training, they might have particular activities that they know that they're doing at particular times. And they can block those times out and then start to factor in their study around that. So at a Year 7 level, we are recommending that a student completes 7 to 9 hours of homework or home study across the week. So that includes weekends as well, which equates to roughly 1 to 1.5 hours of home study across each day. Obviously, once students start to receive homework from their teachers, it's really important that they are taking the time to map that out and ensure that they know particular due dates and what they should be working on first. It's something that students, obviously as Year 7s, will need to spend a little bit of time getting used to in terms of recognising that they have 9 subjects. They obviously therefore need to factor in when they have homework for particular subjects at particular times. And it's really important for them to talk to their pastoral leaders if they're feeling as though they're not on top of things, they feel they might need some support with their organisation. And important too for them to create really positive communication with their teachers as well. We all understand that at times things happen and we get really busy. Certainly if students feel that there's not enough time to complete tasks, teachers are always more than happy to reset dates if they need to, but it's important for students to have that conversation, first. So it's not about turning up the day that something's due and saying that they didn't have time then. We really want our students to recognise that for them to have an extension to any particular task, that they're having that conversation with their teachers, either in class or communicating via email as well. So hopefully I've provided a little bit of a snapshot of what to expect for learning at Marcellin. Obviously it's hard in only a few slides. I'm always more than happy to answer any questions that you may have, and obviously questions around what's happening specifically in your son's classroom, please contact your son's subject teachers in the first instance, but certainly I'm available at the college should you wish to discuss anything further.
Thank you very much, Miss Fordham, and a very good evening to everyone. My name is Nick Maloney. I'm one of the Deputy Principals here at Marcellin College, and my role is to look after staffing and the logistics within the college. Tonight I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about the ways we communicate as a community, and we continue to build the three-way partnership between the students, the parents and the college. The three main ways we communicate with our community is through our website, through Twitter or through our MyMC newsfeed. So every fortnight we have an Eagle, the college newsletter, come out, and in that there'll be information about what's happened in the college over the past week or fortnight, but we also have information about what's coming up in the future. So I encourage you to read that. And on the website as well, we have a principal's blog and deputy principal's blog and other information as well, including the college calendar that will assist you with your planning. So if you'd like to know when our holidays are, student-free days, swimming carnival, etc., it's all there in our college calendar. The second way we communicate is through Twitter. So a great tool, and you can see an image there on the slide, that we use to communicate with not only our parents and our students, but also the wider and broader community. The other way at the moment that we're communicating is through MyMC. So MyMC stands for My Marcellin College. It's our learning management system. It's where all our attendance is marked. It's where our learning activities are stored. It's where your son will undertake assessment, where you'll be able to view assessment. You'll be able to view any feedback that your son's receiving in respect to his learning. You'd be able to look up the courses that he's currently doing and a whole range of information. I'll talk a little bit more about that. In MyMC though, there is a news functionality, and again, you can go to that area and get up-to-date information. On your screen now, you'll see the login page for MyMC. You just need to put in your ID number. So every student, parent and staff member has a unique ID number at the college. So you log in with that ID number and the password that you use to access all our systems. Down the bottom of that slide is a link that you can use also to get into MyMC. The college is also invested in building an app. So I encourage you to go into the App Store, either Android or iPhone, and you'll be able to download the MyMC app, and it looks as it does on screen. And this app allows you, as it says, to access calendar, access news. You'll receive notifications if there's any new news or any new information posted. Within MyMC, you can see your son's timetable, classes, etc. A very useful tool, and again, very simple to use, and hopefully an opportunity to continue the dialogue with our families. On screen now will be the dashboard, the landing page that you'll see when you log into MyMC as a parent. Up the top, you have news, calendar, courses. They're quick links to various, as it suggests, areas of MyMC. And then you have other information as well. So we can see there, Mr. Jordan Abbott. Thank you to Mr. Justin Abbott, one of our health and PE staff members here and learning leader. I've impersonated him, and that's his son Jordan. And as a parent, Justin can look up his timetable, can look up his calendar, when work is due, He can look up his academic reports. So as your son continues in year 8, 9, you'll have access to all of that as well. You'll also have other links there that you can see, faith and service, learning. Again, that's all information that you as parents can access to ensure that you're informed in respect to what's happening within the college. To get to the slide in front of you now, I have used the navigation on the left and I have clicked on Parent Services. So when I did that, there moves to a parent page, as you can see, with a welcome to MyMC, but there's also guides and introductory videos. So if you'd like a bit of a tour of MyMC to learn a little bit more about it, if you'd like any further information about how to access different areas, for example, your son's assessment or your son's timetable, then there are guides there as well to assist. If you do need any assistance at all other than that, then you're welcome to contact your son's pastoral leader, or our IT department would also be able to assist you. The last slide I'd like to talk about tonight before handing over to Mr. Edwards is in respect to child safety. You've entrusted your son to us here at the college, and it's exceptionally important that he feels safe, he feels a sense of belonging, and he feels welcomed. On screen at the moment are a number of legislative requirements that as a college we need to adhere to. Now we're exceptionally lucky at Marcellin to have many volunteers come in and help. Most of them are parents, however we do have other volunteers from within our community. Now volunteers could be in the canteen, they could be supporting our Marcellin College Community Association, or you might just give up your time one morning to come and cook a sausage sizzle on our feast day. To be a volunteer at Marcellin, you need to go through an application process. At the moment though, however, with COVID, we are quite restricted with volunteers coming on campus. So I don't anticipate that changing till probably term 2, maybe term 3. So I'll send out some further information around volunteering there. Thank you very much for your time this evening. I've appreciated the opportunity. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And I'm now going to hand over to Mr. Edwards. Thank you.
Good evening to Year 7 parents and Year 7 students. My name is Ryan Edwards and I'm the Transition Coordinator here at Marcellin College. I'm very lucky in my role to be able to work with many staff and also obviously many families in our community. My role here is to ensure that 240 odd students experience the smoothest transition as possible as they navigate from the primary school setting to this large secondary school. Hopefully your son has had a wonderful experience last week in his first week of term. Throughout the last week, there's been some key support structures put in place to best support his transition. He would have spent a lot of time with his pastoral leader, his house leader, and also his Year 12 buddy. Much of our orientation program is centred around time spent with their pastoral group, that is the students in Year 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, ably supported by their pastoral leader. Now, as always, every student in our school has access to our wonderful counselling team who are available at student or parent request. In addition to our senior school buddy program, where our Year 12s look after our Year 7s and obviously show them around the school, help them navigate their timetable and just give them that peer support on a daily basis. We've also made some plans to ensure that locker allocation is near their buddy, or at least in a private space with other Year 7s, and that all Year 7 classrooms are timetabled in our wonderful Ardmara building. We feel this alleviates anxiety and ensures students can all feel really comfortable about getting to class, and obviously punctuality playing a huge role there. It's really important to note that there is a key support structure of students being dismissed at 3:20. Now, this is only Year 7 students. So in the entirety of term 1 only, they will be dismissed at 3:20, where the rest of the college is dismissed at 3:25. This ensures that they are able to access their locker without the crowds, obviously with the COVID-19 protocols also, and it ensures they're able to get to the bus stop nice and early. And also, one of our buses, that is the very first bus at the Heidelberg bus roundabout within our school, is reserved for Year 7 students only. So not only are they there early, they'll be supervised by a staff member, but they'll also only travel with other Year 7s. Obviously, if they're a little bit slow in getting there and they miss that bus, they're welcome to catch any other bus with our other students. I was lucky enough to have an assembly with our boys last week, our Year 7 boys, and we spoke about the wonderful opportunities available here at the college, and there was a really key message from myself and the junior learning team. I asked your son to say yes to things. Say yes to things he may not have tried in the past. He may uncover a skill, a passion, wonderful social relationships that he may never have experienced had he not taken on that opportunity. These include chess, debating, some wonderful drama and music productions, which existed at all year levels, but in particular at Year 7, and for Year 7s, our wonderful winter sport program. So just to be really clear, our Year 7s do not engage in summer sport in Term 1. To support their transition, we push that back to Term 2, and that is our winter sport season. More information will come to light, and our logistics about the winter sports season typically comes out sort of week 8, week 9, week 10 of term. So at the moment, no student or family has missed any communication regarding sport. We deliberately hold off because there's a lot going on, and as long as your boys are checking their emails daily, they will not miss any communication in regards to sporting opportunities. Okay, so the last thing I want to do is stand up here and give parenting advice. I'm no expert at all. However, at Marcellin, we feel we do have some effective strategies which we feel certainly works really well in boys' education. Some of the things we encourage our boys is to be independent, intrinsic learners. And the only way they can do that is have a base level of communication and organisation. So we really encourage positive learning habits via the use of a student organiser and a student planner. And really importantly, we want to educate our boys on the importance of being distraction and device free when we're engaging in our studies. It's impossible for us to be able to have a phone beside us and be able to concentrate on our work at the same time. So our mobile phone policy here at Marcellin reflects that, and we really encourage boys to remove such devices when they're participating in homework also. On the screen there, you'll see open-ended questions, and I popped this up because I probably remember what it was like when I was a student and my parents were asking me how my day was. I probably, as a young boy, would have grunted back and said, fine, okay, and didn't really elaborate. So one thing I try and do with my pastoral boys in particular is to ask them pointed but open-ended questions. In particular, what did you learn today? What was your favourite part about that last subject? Talk to me about something really good that's happened in the yard today. And I feel that really starts to develop a conversation and a relationship in the pastoral group. So if you could, obviously, I'm sure you already are, but assist with some of those conversations at home. So us as a team are asking similar questions and really getting to know how our boys are experiencing their day. And finally, I ask for your help and your partnership here in trusting the college. We have certainly refined our practices, and we really plan to ensure that our students experience a smooth transition. And that's from day 1, week 1, right through to week 4 when our boys attend camp, and even how we've staggered our co-curricular opportunities, as I spoke about earlier. So please trust us, but of course reach out early if you are experiencing any concern, and that can be via pastoral leader, house leader, or also myself, as it is that open and early dialogue which often prevents and alleviates concerns before they get much bigger. So on behalf of the transition team, I want to thank you for your time tonight. It's a shame we couldn't meet in person. However, I really look forward to potentially doing that when you drop your sons off to Year 7 camp in a couple of weeks. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to all Year 7 parents and students. My name is Paul Cooper and I am the Outdoor Education Program Manager for Junior School. I'll be taking care of the Year 7 orientation camp. Due to the current COVID situation, Marcellin College has decided to postpone the Year 7 orientation camp, which will now take place in the second half of Term 2. So it'll be a similar 3-day, 2-night multi-activity camp, and we'll finalise details in the coming weeks. We understand that over the last few years, many students may not have attended a camp or spent time away from home. So it'd be great if we can start a few conversations at home, just touching on some subjects regarding positives that they might be looking forward to regarding camp, and also some concerns or challenges they might be sort of thinking about that we can address before actually attending the camp. Also some camp information. So each group will be led by an activity instructor and also a Marcellin staff member. We'll also have a registered nurse on camp, and the camp is also fully catered. So I'll be in touch with parents regarding any dietary and allergy requirements leading up to the camp. Once we've finalised the new dates for the Year 7 orientation camp, we'll send information out via MyMC and Consent to Go. That will detail the camp dates, location, camp itinerary, menu, equipment list, permission forms and medical forms. If you have any queries regarding camp, the menu, individual student needs, anything like that, please get in contact with myself via email, and we'll get everything sorted well before camp in term 2. Thank you, and I look forward to meeting you along the Marcellin journey.
Good evening, Year 7 families and students. My name is Phil Kamei and I'm the Director of Students here at the college. Tonight you will be hearing from Mr. Rocky Gentile, our Deputy Principal of Student Wellbeing, as well as myself about the wonderful pastoral care programs and wellbeing practices we have aimed at supporting the personal and academic growth of each young man in our community. This year marks 150 years of Marist education in Australia, and to mark this auspicious occasion, the Marists have chosen the theme Known and Loved. Known and Loved is a theme known very well at our college and something that we pride ourselves on in every interaction we have here in our community. In combination with this, the college has selected our own personal college theme around connection or reconnection, respect and growth. As human beings, we are wired to connect, and we are complex social animals that need to have connections with each other as well as our communities. And whilst we acknowledge the last couple of years have made that challenging for every young person, we will be placing a special emphasis on making sure that every young man, as well as every student in our community, is connecting with his college, whether that be his peers in the classroom environment and teachers, as well as any of the extracurricular activities we have here on offer. Respect is a theme that is strong in every school, but particularly this year for us as we embark on our Respect for Relationships program. I've spoken with every year level in a year level assembly talking about the reciprocal nature of respect, it being a two-way street. It is something that as staff members we certainly demand, but we demand of ourselves towards our students. Throughout the year, every young man will be completing a component of the Respectful Relationships program through our pastoral care system. And later on, you'll be hearing from Rocky about what this program entails. Our final part of our 2022 college theme is Grow. Grow as a member of our community, but also in our own personal individual pursuits. Our personal academic best and our own personal excellence is something we're encouraging all our students to strive for as they develop their hopes, dreams and talents over their time here at Marcellin College. Whether that be in the classroom, the sporting field, the band room or in the chess arena, we ask every man to strive for his personal best as he grows to be known and loved in our community. On page 6 of the student planner, our behavioural support levels are laid out clearly for each family to see. From time to time, we acknowledge that incidents do occur where certain policies and procedures will be enacted. As we embark on our exciting new journey with respectful relationships, we will be aiming to develop the emotional literacy of every young person whilst tackling contemporary issues. In tandem with our behavioural support levels is our restorative practice framework. And when there is occasional conflict between people, we will be employing our restorative practices, as well as the steps you can see on the screen now, to support the growth of each young man in a respectful manner. Many of you may be familiar with respectful relationships as well as restorative practices from your primary schools. We encourage you to have a dialogue at home about what restorative practices entails as the year unfolds. Restorative practices is a conversation which is aimed to protect the dignity of both victims and perpetrators, whilst managing any conflict, harm or damage in a respectful manner. COVID-19 safety is a theme that every community will be dialoguing about as the year progresses. As we know, and as some of the modelling shows at the moment, we are expecting a spike in cases as communities resume a normal pattern of movement. As with last year, many of the settings remain the same, and we encourage every young man to maintain the hygiene practices that have been shown to keep us all safe within our communities. Those are making sure we are maintaining good hygiene practices around surfaces as well as hands and touch, washing our hands before we eat, and maintaining mask wearing whilst indoors at all times. We know that this is a very effective measure to maintaining community health whilst we're in an enclosed environment, something that many students will spend hours potentially in a room with their peers as well as teachers. In combination with these personal practices, we will be employing many other whole college procedures as well, with air conditioners and exhaust fans employed where possible, as well as air purifying devices dotted throughout the school in high traffic areas. Each young man by now should have received a box of 5 rapid antigen tests, and hopefully every family is employing a testing schedule at home to ensure that COVID-19 isn't lying asymptomatically or dormant within the family unit. If you do test positive to COVID-19, it is essential that you do contact the Department of Health. The number is on the screen for you all, as well as making sure you contact the college so that we're able to inform community members as needed, as well as support each young man during his time of isolation. Those families who are familiar with our community will recognise that there has been a change to the bell times and day structure for 2022. This change has been made to support the rich learning programs we have here at the school, as well as fostering a strong sense of connection and family spirit via our vertical pastoral care program and horizontal wellbeing Wednesday classes at 8:35 each morning. As you can see, we have an 8:25 dismissal. For our Year 7s during Term 1, we aim to get them out before the mad rush of the school day, with each Year 7 class being dismissed at approximately 3:20 p.m. each day for the remainder of Term 1, with all classes reverting back to 3:25 for Term 2 and beyond. I will now pass over to Mr. Rocky Gentile, who will be explaining more about our Respectful Relationships program and other practices here at the college. Thank you.
Boys in their year level and house. So for example, all of the Augustan Year 7 boys will work together on this day. And what they'll do is they'll explore the 9 topics that you can see there as documented on the slide under the Resilience, Rights and Respectful Relationships program. Now we'll be abbreviating that program, calling it the Respectful Relationships program. And it really is an indication to our boys of the importance of respect in this school and the wider community. We want to really continue to build a strong culture of respect, of boys understanding their rights and their responsibilities as responsible Marcellin students, but also responsible citizens of our wider community. We want to deal with some of the societal issues and topics that are pertinent to our boys in an age-appropriate manner, and that's why the decision's been made to do this in year level groups, because working on things such as mental health and managing stress and positive gender relationships is done very differently with a year 12 student compared to what it would be done with a year 7 student. So we want to work on our boys' decision making. We want to work on their problem solving. We want to make them better citizens as well as better learners here at Marcellin. And we hope and we really believe that the Respectful Relationships program will allow us to do that. Now, following on from our Respectful Relationships program and that culture of wider respect is our understanding of boys really needing structure and clarity around what's expected of them here at Marcellin to succeed and to grow as much as they possibly can in their time at school. Everything we know about boys' education is leading us to relationships, obviously, through our pastoral program, but also very much around structure and clarity. And these two policies, our dress code and our mobile phones policy, certainly aim to provide that and discourage behaviours that limit learning and limit personal growth. So our dress code at the moment, as you can see in the boys pictured in the image, is very much around summer uniform with the shorts and the short sleeve shirt. We move obviously in terms 2 and 3 to our blazer, which I'm sure you've all bought already for your sons, and a tie as well, with generally boys wear the longer pants in the winter and of course a long sleeve shirt. So we do hold pretty strong uniform expectations for our boys, and they are expected to meet them, and there will be quite regular uniform checks in each pastoral as well. On to mobile phones. Essentially, the guidelines from school here are that boys really should have their mobile phones off and in their lockers during the school day. Now, if you as parents would like to contact them during the school day, you can certainly do that through Student Services. The number is 9851 1589, or you could potentially email their house leader or their pastoral leader if it was something that you thought had to do with their well-being. However, we really want to discourage boys carrying phones around the school. It does present a cyber safety risk at times, but more importantly, it certainly detracts from learning if they're sitting in class and messages or Snapchats or the other myriad of apps are going off in the background whilst the teacher's trying to teach. We do understand that at times mobile phones will be used for learning, and at those times, if instructed by a teacher, they are certainly permissible in the classroom. But we do ask, as I mentioned earlier, that mobile phones are off and in lockers throughout the day, which makes it very important that students have a lock on their locker at all times. Now, from time to time, you may need to contact some staff here at Marcellin outside of the normal pastoral leader contact or parent-teacher interviews that occur during terms 1 and term 3. And we like to provide a guide to Year 7 parents around who to contact first. So, for example, your best port of call in the initial stages are either your subject teacher, if it was a learning issue. So, for example, if you wanted to know a little bit more about what was going on in maths, you would generally speaking first call your son's teacher rather than the learning leader or the director of learning culture, just because they will generally speaking have the most up-to-date and current information about what's going on in that class. And just the same, if you have a concern or if you have a question around your son's wellbeing, the initial contact would be through the pastoral leader, who would then, of course, inform the house leader, director of students, or deputy principal, depending on what the issue was, and one of those people may get back to you. But initially speaking, you would want to be talking to the subject teacher and the pastoral leader, because those two people are going to be dealing with your son in the most consistent and the most regular way, so they'll have the most up-to-date information to answer your query and work with you in supporting your son. Now, we can all probably think back to the time when we were teenagers and some difficult situations we perhaps put our parents in, and we know that adolescence, generally speaking, can be a challenging time. We know that it can be a wonderfully productive time as well, where students are forming their identity, where they're creating relationships with friends that they may have for the rest of their lives, and we hope that they have for the rest of their lives some really positive relationships. And sometimes as a parent, even myself, of very little children, you're just looking for that little bit of reassurance that you're doing the right thing, or that or you've come to a situation that you're not kind of sure how to manage, and you just want to phone a friend or consult an expert. And these people here really are 5 experts in boys' education and around raising boys. And they deal with everything from discipline and how, effective ways to discipline your sons. But they also talk about relationship building. They also talk about managing online time. They talk about the rites of passage that occur with young men and what they may be thinking at different times and how they may want to be dealt with. Now, I'm certainly not suggesting you need to go out and buy all of these books, and I'm certainly not suggesting you need to read all of them, but perhaps 1 or 2 of them that are of interest to you, or that you think might be of assistance to you as you work with us in supporting your young man as he journeys through our school. And of course, the final resource there, Surviving Year 12, probably not one to buy straight away, but it is something, it is a book written by Michael Carr-Gregg that really does help put Year 12 into perspective, but also talks about effective ways to study and manage busy, stressful periods like exam times when that time comes for your son. So I hope you find some of these useful along the way over the next few years. Now, before I leave you this evening and pass you on to our college principal, Mr. De Cesare, I'd like to talk to you about what we promise you as a wellbeing team. And firstly, it's to enter all conversations with positive intent. Certainly to be loyal and to walk alongside your son when he needs support. We will challenge him to be better. We want every student to understand the mantra of being better today than you were yesterday. And that philosophy of personal growth, not only as a learner, but also as a person, is something that we are really promoting here at Marcellin with our boys. And finally, we want each student to get the absolute most out of their time here at Marcellin. Now, that obviously, of course, includes friendships. It certainly includes learning. It may include different co-curricular activities like sport or music or debating or production or chess. But we want each student over the next 6 years in their time here at Marcellin to get the absolute most out of themselves and to look back on their time at Marcellin as a Marcellin young man and think of that time as a time that was really productive in their lives, really fun in their lives, but most importantly, a time where they grew as people and as learners and as young Christians in the example of St. Marcellin. That's our promise to you. That's what we're working towards every day. And we certainly look forward to meeting and working with each and every one of your boys over the next 6 years, and of course, by extension of that, yourselves as their parents or carers. Thank you for your time. I will now pass you on to our principal for his principal's address. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to the first of our information nights for 2022. My name is Marco De Cesare, and as principal, I have the real privilege of leading the Marcellin College community in 2022 and beyond. I'm looking forward to a number of things that we've got planned, and hopefully you will have received a through Mr. Gentile, a post that went out through MyMC about some of the changes and improvements that we're looking at for 2022. But as a focus on what I shared with staff, and as a staff what we've agreed to, is really a Marcellin College theme for 2022. And so while we want our students to always strive for the highest, we're looking at a theme that is connect, respect, and grow. So it's about connecting to each other, our studies and our faith, respecting diversity in all that it offers to our community, and to grow, a growth in learning opportunities presented to us in our classrooms and beyond. I think whilst we can look back on the last 2 years and look at what we've lost, and we've heard a lot about that, we've also got to reflect on the positives that have come out of the last 2 years. The fact that we're actually presenting in the way that we are right now, I think there's been such a lift amongst everyone in our community with regards to technology and its use. For a lot of us, we've got to spend quite a bit of time with family. That whole sense of togetherness, while in some ways being apart, and also learning to focus on the things that matter. It's not to say that we discount all that was lost, but really as we look forward, it's important to focus on the positives and to really look upon things with a sense of optimism. So I ask everyone in our community to connect, and for parents certainly, please, connecting through MyMC, through our newsletter, with each other, and really getting involved in all that Marcellin College offers. And I know I've seen many of you around the school in different ways and in different capacities. And it's respect for each other. And as we say to the boys, for mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, it's a respect for each other in the community, for our surrounds and how things look, and really focusing on that whole notion of diversity and respecting that. And of course, grow. Really what our aim is here at Marcellin College is for our young men to be better than they are today. Really, throughout this year, to work on their own personal improvement. It's knowing what's possible and what you're capable of doing, and to strive for something higher. And what we want is our young men to come out really at the other end better people, more learned people, and good Christians and good citizens. Therefore, I encourage everyone to take up a new theme: connect, respect, grow. Marcellin College is a great school. It's a great school because of the people in it. Firstly, our students, the families that are supporting them and us, and of course our staff that go over and above with our young people. And I look forward to 2022 and all that it brings. Thank you.